guys, Marian here. Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be diving deep in a topic that I get asked about all the time, and that is, what is the difference between different types of Jews? Orthodox, Reform, Conservative, Reconstructionist, Chabad, Hasidic, what does it all mean? So I'm going to break it down for you guys today. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Marian and I make videos about being a mom, being a Jewish mom. I vlog my everyday life doing Shabbat every week, so I'd love to have you as one of my subscribers. Just hit that red subscribe button down below and give this video a big thumbs up if you like it. Okay, so let's jump in. What are these different branches of Judaism and what do they mean? I wanted to answer this question because I get asked it all the time, and it is a bit of a complex answer and there's a lot of nuance and a little bit of history. So first of all, it's really important to understand that all Jews are Jews, and whatever you call yourself, whatever you believe, you are part of the Jewish faith. You are included, and it doesn't matter who's your rabbi or what your beliefs are. Everybody is included and welcome. So I just want to get that out of the way. Also, one of these movements is the one that I belong to. So I'll let you guys guess, maybe, in the comments below, what do you think? And I'll tell you guys at the end as well. So I do want to just give that caveat that perhaps I'm a bit of a biased reporter here because I do belong to one of them. Okay, so let's jump in with a little bit of history first. In the beginning, right, all Jews were just Jews, and Jewish people lived in the land of Israel, in the Holy Land. We had a temple, that one got destroyed. We had another temple, and Judaism was very centralized, and there was a lot of components of the faith where you actually went to this big temple, this big holy temple, and did things there, and there were priests in charge there, and those priests in that temple created a centralized system of the religion. Okay, so then throughout history, the temple gets destroyed, we sort of adapt, there's a Sanhedrin court that then, creates rules, and all of it is based on the Torah, and then the Mishnah, and these books are codified, right? Then the Jewish people are officially expelled from the land of Jerusalem, and they're no longer in charge there. However, they are still living there. But anyways, so Jewish people are spread. You okay? Yeah. So Jewish people are spread all over the world, and the religion has to change because there's no longer this centralized temple and centralized, priesthood that declare how things work. And this is when Judaism really became the people of the book. So our religion and faith revolved around the Holy Torah. So after that time period, there wasn't one centralized institution that was deciding, how this Jewish religion was going to work. And for a long time, that's how it was. And especially for the Jews in Europe, everyone lived in these little shtetls, right? These little areas, and each shtetl would have their own rabbi and would sort of adapt and have their own kind of way of life a bit, depending on what that rabbi in that town decided how things should be. This is about 1700s in Europe now, so we fast forward a little bit. So then, if you know the story of Jews in Europe, you know that being Jewish in Europe was very difficult. There was a lot of anti-Semitism. It was hard to prosper and be part of the culture, and many Jews began to assimilate. So instead of living in these little shtetls under this one rabbi in their little town, they would move into the big city, and they would sort of lose their Judaism a little bit because they wanted to safely be part of the European culture. Okay, so this is when the Reform movement started. So the Reform movement looked at all these Jews that were assimilating and said, wait a minute, there has to be a way to be Jewish and still be part of the culture at large. Let's find a way to adapt Judaism to the modern world. And that's what the Reform movement did. So what the Reform movement said is that the original halakha of Judaism, the laws, are allowed to be interpreted and updated, and we don't have to dress a certain way. That was more important about the values that you have as a person, the traditions that we hold about holidays and our beliefs in God, rather than these specific laws that could be very intrusive on your everyday life, right? Keeping kosher, keeping Shabbat could very much keep you from assimilating into the culture around you. Okay, so then around the same time, possibly as a reaction to the Reform movement being formed, many Jews began to call themselves Orthodox Jews. And what they said is that for us, halakha is the most important thing. And we are not going to adapt, and we're not going to, assimilate into regular culture. We're we want to maintain this Judaism as it is now. So I like to draw that caveat because a lot of people automatically assume that Orthodox Judaism is the original Judaism or how it's meant to be practiced or like the highest form of Judaism. But I always say, like, the black hats were not required in the Bible, right? Like the traditions and traditional like dressings and look of the Orthodox movement today is not the original Judaism. It's how the Orthodox movement created itself in the 1800s. So yes, it's very old and traditional now, but it's not necessarily the original or truest form of Judaism or biblical Judaism in that way. Okay, so those are the two main branches, and throughout the world, those are the most popular branches, especially Orthodox and Reform. But here in America, in the US, what was once the most popular movement, which now I think is a bit on the decline, is the conservative movement. So the conservative movement formed as a kind of reaction to both of these extremes, we can say. And what the conservative movement said is that halakha and Jewish law is still important, but it should be able to adapt. So conservative Judaism became very popular in America because you could still be very much within American culture, but still hold on to your Judaism. Okay, so those are the three main branches. There's also Reconstructionist Jews, which are who believe in reconstructing some of this original halakha. And there's also groups like CHABAD and other Hasidic Jews, which I'm sure you guys have heard of. So CHABAD and other Hasidic groups fall within the Orthodox or the ultra-religious group of Jews, and most of them came from certain towns in Europe, and they followed certain Hasidic rabbis and then sort of stuck together as a group and continued on with those traditions. CHABAD, when it formed, had very strong and slightly unique beliefs about Judaism, and even today they have this like global network of Chabad synagogues that do a lot of outreach and a lot of different things in the community. Chabad had a very famous rabbi in the 1950s whose name was Menachem Mendel Schneerson, and he became very popular from the 50s to the 1980s, so much so that many Chabad followers thought that he was the Messiah, and they even today you'll see Chabad followers have pictures of him in their home. So that's something that really differentiated the Chabad movement from other Orthodox or Reform or conservative Jews who didn't have that same affiliation with that rabbi, never had the belief that he was the Messiah and things like that. So although any Jew can walk into any synagogue and hopefully will be included and able to understand the prayers, like the very basic prayers are always the same. What really differentiates the groups when you see them a lot is like the dress. So certain groups of Orthodox Jews dress a certain way, and then conservative Reform Jews just look like probably everybody else in America. Although you will sometimes see them wearing kippahs and things like that. For the women, Reform and conservative Jewish women don't cover their hair, don't wear wigs, and have sort of let go a lot of some of the family purity laws, like going to mikveh every month and things like that, because again, their lives don't revolve around the specifics of halakha in that way. Also, the Reform and conservative movements are known for being very outward-facing in their Jewish values. So things like social justice and environmental justice are huge values within Judaism, and it's been very important within those movements to take those values to the street, to help out whenever we can, and things like that, versus like looking inward, if that makes sense. So those are the very basic differences between the different movements. There is one more layer of just like a little bit of an asterisk, which is that the Orthodox movement in Israel is very powerful. And what that's meant is that, for example, things are changing a little bit, but if you were had a Reform conversion or married in the Reform movement, there was a time, and it still kind of is a little bit this way, where in Israel it wouldn't be accepted or it wouldn't count just because the Orthodox movement is so powerful. So I think because of that, again, it's given this layer that like the Orthodox movement is right, or somehow controls or owns the truth about Judaism, but it's more like a political thing in Israel, is what I would say, versus the truth of like the religious history, if that makes sense. So while these elements do exist and create distinctions within different branches of Judaism, it's again really important to understand that however you identify, you should be included and welcomed within Judaism. So that is the difference between Jewish movements. Let me know if you guys are interested in this, because I wanted to make a second follow-up video about Jewish cults, quote unquote, like Love Tahor, Jews for Jesus, groups that are technically not Jewish but might still be interested in learning about them and how they kind of connect with Judaism. So let me know if you guys are interested in that. Thanks so much for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!